Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 3,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 100 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
Hello, friends. This is Spencer Love, your host of Over the Top Rope on the Win Column Sports Network. Don't forget you can head to wincolumnsports.ca for all of your previews, reviews, and breaking news from the world of wrestling, be it your major promotions or from the great province of Alberta, Canada.
Awesome!
This is your main man RJ from the Ringside Rant, heard only on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. So go over and subscribe across all your major platforms, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher to hear every great interview I have every Monday on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. Go over and follow the show's page on Twitter @_Ringside Rant. Follow the network's page @BizWrestleNet. And, as always, embrace the vision.
If you like podcasts and you are listening to Backbreaker Media, then you should listen to me, Chris Parrish,
and myself, Manoia,
and the Sounds of Struggle, because we are literally the most entertaining duo you'll ever come across in Western Canadian wrestling, baby.
We talk about things like wrestling
and other sports we like.
Wrestling.
But we won't talk about other sports that we don't like, because it's not that kind of podcast.
Like wrestling.
I mean, we like hockey.
And wrestling.
And we like football.
And wrestling.
And we also like to drink beer.
While wrestling.
Well, not while wrestling, but while watching wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to get into a conversation with Maniac and Chris Parrish, then you need to tune into the Sounds of Struggle live on Backbreaker Media.
Every Thursday.
It's when we hope to drop, but sometimes Mike Malawany doesn't do his job right.
Or we're too drunk to forget.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
He can bleep out the swear word, because we weren't supposed to do that.
Oh,
but
I'll try not to swear. I can't do it.
Yeah. Let's face it, the two of us, we're real.
And spectacular.
And we're a little bit of all right.
Yeah.
We're also strugglicious.
That we are.
That was kind of the key. We're supposed to be strugglicious.
Oh, sorry, I'm drunk.
Yeah. So, if you don't want to listen to us, then no, you're stupid, because we're entertaining. And if you want to listen to us, then come listen to us on Backbreaker Media.
Yeah. Later, said.
Later, bitches.
Your friendly neighborhood ring announcer from Real Canadian Wrestling. And today, joining me on the podcast is Andre C.
I'm happy to be here, my friend.
And the Grand Poobah of Win Column Sports Network, Spencer Love.
I love it. I just keep getting new nicknames, man. That's awesome. I appreciate it. It is far overdue. For you and I getting together and shooting a podcast together. I'm very, very excited. Thanks for having me.
Too. Definitely, Spencer's been a huge support for me. So is Andre.
Yeah, I'm a support. Woohoo! I'm supporting him. Like a physical support. Like we hold Kyle up when he falls, emotionally and physically. And especially,
I take his job when he gets kicked
I was
in the
just
leg.
going to say, especially when Kyle can't work anymore, Andre physically hops in there on the ring announcing duties. We all support each other.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Spencer, earlier last week, I think it was, you posted an article called, I don't know what the exact name of the article was, but it was basically about opening the doors between the various promotions to provide an open door policy.
Yeah. 100%, and you hit the nail on the head. It is opening the door, as found on windcomsports.ca. But yeah, I just think that, and for me, it is selfish. I'll preface that a bit in the sense that, like, I don't know what goes on as far as the business side of wrestling. I've never run a promotion. I've never worked behind the scenes of a promotion, so, like, I don't even have the background knowledge that you guys do. I come purely from a fan as far as it goes, right? Like, I think that there are so many talented Albertan wrestlers out there. Obviously, I don't know, this will come out on Monday, so it will have already happened. But we have the Alberta Indie Dream match coming up in Radway on January 11th. I'm super excited. And then actually something that's flown a little under the radar, the next night in Bonnyville, you've got Christian Strife taking on Mitch Danger Zone Clark, which I think like doesn't get enough recognition because those two guys are talented enough on their own. We'll get into that in a bit. But I just think that these two matches are fantastic matches. I'm very excited. Like, I'm going out to Radway. I'm going out to Bonnyville. I just think that...
Cassie, we are busy. Please don't interrupt. Thank you.
The noises of a house.
Apologies.
Oh, no worries, dude. But I just think that, for me, obviously, Edmonton and Calgary are the meccas of Alberta, regardless of which industry it is. Like, you talk oil, you talk anything, you talk wrestling. They're obviously going to be biggest in your biggest cities in the province. So I think that if Alberta or Edmonton and Calgary specifically were to start allowing more of an open door policy and start to let more matches like MRB versus Pride, who in Edmonton work for competing promotions, I think that you could really start to build even more momentum behind what's already happened in the last year, because I think that you guys would agree with me. We've chatted about it a ton. Wrestling right now in Alberta is arguably better than it's ever been. Now, I say that as a guy who wasn't alive during Stampede Wrestling, but like, that's pretty kick-ass, man.
the best it's been in a long time, at least. Like, don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed indie wrestling since, I think, 2008 in Alberta, but it's just gotten progressively better. Simple as that. Especially these last 2 to 3 years, it's gotten just to a high point for me.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that every promotion is talented enough to survive on its own. And don't get me wrong. I again say it that I am an idealist as far as it goes. But I think that if you were to start to see more and more of these quote-unquote dream matches happening in areas where it is more accessible to people, because despite the fact that I know we're all going out to Radway, there's not a lot of people who are going to drive 40 minutes. Now, I know there's a lot of people I can convince to come out to a show for $15 or $20. Come check it out in Edmonton, or if I'm in Calgary, same goes. It's pretty hard to convince people to drive out that far, because then you sort of, at least for a few people who would normally come out, you eliminate the chance to get a couple of drinks. You eliminate the chance to, like, sort of make more of an event of it than just coming out to a wrestling show. So I think that you start to get more matches like that in your wrestling meccas, like, you'll see the scene blow up more than it even has in 2019.
I hear where you're coming from. What are your thoughts, Andre?
I can see that the amount of opening the doors and the potential dream matches you have, but there's also booking. I can see from the other side of the coin that you don't want to be booking your one, say these two guys that are feuding in one promotion, and then say they go over there and one guy's saving a guy and becoming an ally in that promotion. I can see why exclusivity works, to the fact of it just to keep things cohesive.
Yeah, and I get that, but where I come from is I'm not going to really mention any names because I don't know like how much of breaking kayfabe I'll be here, but like you've already got wrestlers that are going on to different promotions that are in a tag team in RCW and CWC, or you've got people that are a face in one promotion and a heel in the other. You already start to see that breakdown, and I think that this is not an argument. It was a conversation I had with another guy just on Win Column, that I think that if you were to start opening the door, you would really allow people to start to build one consistent character. So let's just say John Smith in the PWA.
Man, he's the best.
He's a hell of a guy, primed for a huge run.
Just don't say Joe somebody or whatever. I would make it hot.
But let's just say Joe Smith, Jim Smith, whatever. Jim Smith. In PWA, he's a face. In CWC, he's the most dastardly heel around. And in Lakeland Pro Wrestling, which got to give them a shout out, they're the shit. Lakeland Pro Wrestling. He's part of a face tag team with a guy who's also now a heel in PWA and a face in CWC. Like, you've already got, because of these boundary lines, you've already got the ability, or not ability, but lack of ability to control your character as much as you really want. Whereas I think if you were to see somebody that Jim Smith decides he can go to PWA and RCW and all that sort of stuff in the Edmonton area, you get to develop one consistent character. Because even in the last year, I know there's people who have crossed over that, like, I recognize they're going under a different name. They've got a different tag team name. I expect to start booing them, and they're going for a high five to kids, and I feel like just such a jerk booing this guy who's going out of his way. You know what I mean?
Like, it's different than you got a Lakeland, which is 2 hours away from here, which is 2 hours from your main drawing cities. And CWC is a little different in the fact that it runs again, it's kind of like Lakeland in a way that it runs in a town where the other three, I guess, for lack of a bigger term, big promotions or main promotions, there are the main three if you think about it at the moment. CWC is coming on strong, but they're outside of those two major cities. So when MRB goes to CWC or goes to RCW in Radway, it's their spot shows. They're not their main storyline shows. Versus you look at the ones you're trying to draw consistent bases. And I get it's when you have a star, or stars like the NVR, or you have a star like MRB and BVD. You want them to draw for you. You don't want them to draw. 100%. You don't want them to draw for another promotion in the town that you run every month.
Now, see, and this is something that I know I've talked about with a couple of people, and I'm not going to break anything here because I know Mr. Michael, the referee, is going to do that in a couple of days.
Mike, the ref sucks.
No, he doesn't. I think that if you were to start to see the biggest issue I think that people have as far as drawing right now is people are booking on the same nights. I think that's your biggest issue you have is you were going head to head with your other promotions. Where I think if you were to start to see, like, for me, a lot of the wrestling scene would be like if you've got Monday Night Raw, if it was to somehow air on the same night as NXT at the same time as 205 Live. I feel like you've got a lot of promotions that are booking on the same nights. You're automatically splitting an audience that I know I've had to pick and choose shows where I know that if I have 4 weekends where I can go out to 4 different wrestling shows in Edmonton, I would do it. And if that means to go back to the sharing of talent, like, man, I don't think we talk about MRB, and I know that he's a wrestler who's very, very talented, but like, I don't want to have to always drive an hour and a half to watch Chris Parrish wrestle. I don't always want to have to drive an hour and a half to watch Pride wrestle. I don't want to have to go out to Lakeland to watch a match like Christian Strife versus Mitch Clark, when realistically, we should be able to watch that in the Edmonton area. And I think that people don't get tired of talented wrestlers. It's the same reason that, despite the fact that booking sucks, I will sit and watch 90% of the matches on Monday Night Raw. I will sit and watch 90% of the matches on SmackDown because talented wrestlers are talented wrestlers. And I think that even if I had to sit, quote unquote, sit through watching the same wrestlers or the same big names, let's even say 3 out of 4 weekends because I have to work one.
Yeah.
I would do it. I 100% would. I know that you guys are in the same boat, and I think that if I was to see a wrestler like I have, because I went down to CWC, it was my first show watching Parrish, Pride, Envy, Dylan Stone, a number of those talents, and I was excited to see them when they came up to RCW.
Yeah. But
right? And I think if you start to see... Sorry, I'll let you talk here after this.
Sorry. Yeah.
I just think that you can start to expand your audience that way, even just regionally, if you start to get people coming out to different promotions for different stars.
But you also got to look at the fact that if you have the same guys on every show, that also doesn't give us... That takes, in a way, takes away a spot from other guys trying to come in. So if you say you have these 6 guys that are working every single show, that's possibly multiple matches. Not, like, other people aren't getting it. Where you have exclusive rosters, there's more guys on that card comparatively.
I think it.
Like, I don't get me wrong. I would love to see a bunch of these guys work the same shows.
Mm-hmm.
but I also look at it in other ways. And there's
So-
a cat on my shoulder.
I think it extrapolates the system. So if we look at it like a sports promotion, let's take the entertainment part out of it. You look at it as a sporting promotion. What a sporting promotion is supposed to do, where let's look at Alberta as the quote-unquote minor leagues, what they're supposed to do is develop talent, develop the next generation, and push them onto the big league. You use MRB, I'll use MRB. I think that if he was to be working, let's even say, and I know the guy works his ass off, just to preface this, the guy is out every opportunity he gets. But let's consider that he could be working in Edmonton more often rather than having to go out or do what he has to do. Or let's talk about a guy like Chris Parrish, who, again, I think is one of the most criminally underrated wrestlers on the independent scene worldwide. If they're to be able to work in Edmonton more, get more eyes on them, I think that, I don't know how scouting goes for WWE or anything like that, but you talk about even Impact taping in Canada. You get more eyes on them, they start to go out, that's where you start to see the developing talent come in. Because I think you've got Storm Wrestling Academy that does an excellent job of training wrestlers. You've got Monster Pro Wrestling's Training Academy, I don't know their official name, but they do an excellent job. I think if you look at it in the NXT sense, or in the developmental promotion sense, I think that's where you've got to have those developing wrestlers, because you want to put on, as a promoter, the best show possible. And if that means you've got to book the same 6 guys because those are the 6 guys who draw, I think you do it. That's just bad business to be.
I do think, like you said, MPW has a wrestling school.
100%.
And I think that plays into the whole thing, too. Because, why would you use, MPW greenhorns when you have the availability of, Christian Strife and the MBR to come over and be on your MPW show? I think it would. I think it would cost undercard wrestlers opportunities, just because if everybody on the show is a main eventer, it's just going to cause problems. It's going to be a budgeting issue for sure. I mean, are all these main eventers going to be okay, well, we'll get more people out if we have all main eventers on the show, but are we all going to be taking a cut of pay so that Swig or Massive or Kurt can afford to pay us all? We're not going to be getting our normal rate if there's not going to be those people that are willing to work for $25 and a hot dog.
Absolutely, and I completely digress. You guys fully know the business side, the actual business side of wrestling much, much better than I do.
Yeah, right.
You guys have
honestly, the MPW wrestling show, I mean, from what I hear, a lot of, the tuition fees of the students funds the show. There wouldn't be a show if there was no students. And if there's no show to put the students on, then why train?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I think that if people are going to train, it is earning opportunities. I really think that that's the case. I think that everybody should have the opportunity to go to a wrestling school, but at some point it does become about... I don't want to sound like an asshole here. I really know I'm going to, but at some point it does become about, okay, you've had a couple matches. At what point are you done training?
But why do you train these a couple of matches if you have experienced guys?
Because I do concede, MPW is a different, it's a different scenario because it is a training school. Let's look at PWA, CWC, RCW, places that you wouldn't...
CWE is I think, is sort of a similar...
I'm not sure about CWE. I'm unfortunately...
I believe they have their own training grounds as well. They have their own performance center.
Very cool. And I know...
CWC.
And I know Lakeland Pro is as well. I know they just started one.
I know for CWC they've done mini camps and stuff. I don't think they have a full...
Pardon me, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think they have a full training school.
Yeah.
But I know they have done a couple mini camps here and there because I've gone down. I went down for one show I had gone down for. It was actually right after they did a camp earlier today, and I was talking with one of the guys that did the camp.
Yeah.
And they said it was just like 1 or 2 day mini camps, but it's not full wrestling training.
Yeah, I
just get your feel.
I think that when you're talking about Monster Pro Wrestling or any promotion that is at least equally a training school to a wrestling promotion, right? I think that MPW is equally a promotion as it is a training ground, and that's absolutely fine. I think that you do need a place to develop. You need a place to percolate, but you don't do that at. I don't think unless you sort of quote unquote proven yourself prior.
Yeah.
That you should be in a PWA or an RCW or a CWC, just purely on the fact that, like,
Especially
I don't think
on
there's
their main
anybody,
shows.
right? I think that none of those places predominantly feature a training school. They've got really nothing. They've really got nothing to gain by featuring training wrestlers. And even now, when I go to a show, I don't think they've got anybody who's a complete greenhorn. Like, even the newest people I can think of. You've got, I believe it's Kylie Morgan that's debuting for RCW. Zoe Sager, Barry Grayson that I just recently
They've all
started
had
watching.
training.
Exactly. They're experienced in the ring. I wouldn't watch them and say they're learning how to wrestle when I watch them in the ring. I think they've learned how to wrestle, and maybe they're still getting better. But that is something that you can afford to get better. You can't be learning the basics at a promotion like that. So for me, I think that once you've gotten to that level, I think, it does become about let's book the best show possible. I think there's a reason that people get brought in. There's a reason that people main event the same shows. There's reasons that, like, you're already looking at it. If we want to talk about giving mid-carders opportunities, I think that talent sharing is the perfect opportunity to do that because you get the people organically over in one promotion or the other. And then at that point, it's up to the wrestlers where they choose to book themselves, which I think that if you're to book, I talk about the promotional side of it, if you're to allow talent sharing, you give more power to the wrestler. I think that you look at a mid-card talent who you talk about driving the price up. I think that at this opportunity, so Brandon Van Danielson, who another guy who's criminally underrated. I think promotions used to...
Hey, I praise BVD on every show I talk.
Oh man, I know you do. I know a lot of people do, and I still think that the guy's criminally underrated. I think that he's a guy that you can build a promotion around, but because of this exclusivity with PWA, whether it's loyalty, whether it's contractual, again, this isn't something that I'm privy to. You guys know better than I do, but maybe you start a bidding war for BVD. Maybe, I don't know what a salary is for a backstage worker, but maybe he charges $500. I'm just throwing a number out.
Okay.
Maybe he charges $500. That's his going rate in PWA. No ifs, ands, buts, whatever. That's what he's getting. You open the door a little bit, so maybe CWC says, well, maybe you come down here more often. We'll pay you $6. Yeah. PWA doesn't want to lose them. BVD's obviously going to want to take more money, unless, of course, the loyalty plays in.
Exclusivity.
I think that by wanting a better show, by wanting to get a better show, you bring more people to the show. By bringing more people to the show, you drive people's wages up, and rightfully so. But by doing that, you're bringing more people to a show. You're establishing yourself more and more. I understand that there's a lot of hesitation behind it. I again preface this like I don't know the business side whatsoever. I don't know what a wrestler gets paid for an independent show, right?
It
but
varies.
Exactly. I think that you empower the wrestlers. I think that it starts to, whether it's a bidding war or it's people starting to explore more opportunities that they see as better for them, I think that it completely empowers them. It empowers promotions to be able to put on better shows, and it drives the talent in Alberta to be better because they know I'm not limited to whoever CWC can get. I'm not limited to whoever RCW can get because I'm in Edmonton and I can't book these 50 people.
Yeah.
I think the talent drives themselves to be better in that case because if you want to get booked, you've got to be the best. You can't just be one of the 20 guys who came to the gym that night. That makes sense. So, but either way, I mean, that's been a very long preamble into what your topic of conversation was tonight, Mr. Clark.
I just want to touch because, I mean, it's not a secret that I've been training with Andrew Box. It's not something I talk about a lot. But I know, I probably would get any opportunities, if they could just use everyone.
But for me, I know you just as a person, man. You're one of the most dedicated guys to wrestling, I know. And I'm not just kissing your ass. Listen to any podcast on the Backbreaker Media Network. Proud member of Wickball, of course. I'll sing your praises often as far as that goes. And I know you, if that was to be the situation when you got into wrestling, you're a guy who loves wrestling. If you wanted to pursue it, you would be one of those guys who would elevate their game rather than just say, well, I'm not going to get booked anywhere, sort of shuffle your feet like Charlie Brown and walk away. You would be someone who would say whether I'm getting into it through managing someone and building my way from there, whether it's training with Hawks, who, again, bringing up criminally underrated people, man, he has had an excellent second half of 2018, which is like really when I started watching him. Whether it's training 5 days a week rather than 4 or whatever it is, like you would be a guy who would push yourself until you got booked. You know, I think that is what wrestling, not just in Alberta, anywhere needs people like that.
I mean, just for my own sake, I just want to say, like, I mean, it's not easy.
Oh, hell no, man. There's a reason I've never done it.
But, like, and even after, like, sustaining injuries and stuff, I have shown up for every class that Hawks told me to show up for, and I've done everything he's asked me to do.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I mean. Is like, you do it, and at that point, you do separate out the people who were getting into it for a couple of weeks and then just back out or get into it to tell us, like, you know what I mean?
Was like, oh, maybe I'll work 1 2 matches and that'll be.
Yeah.
But like, it's like you can't look at it from that perspective. You're gonna go and you can learn. And if you're gonna learn, you're gonna go and you're gonna learn to fucking do it properly.
100%, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Anyway, why we're here is your not only your article, but also I don't know if you guys have ever listened to Kaya March's podcast, Book It Boys, a wrestling podcast.
I have not.
Okay, well, I don't think it's actually Kaya's podcast. It belongs to somebody else, but Kaya's one of the hosts.
Okay.
And basically, the concept is that they do fantasy booking. So the first episode I listened to, they booked WrestleMania 10 years from now. And
very cool.
It was very cool. Kaya March booked all 3 of Triple H's daughters in a match. And they all had like names that started with H. It was fantastic.
Outstanding.
One of the other guests on the show booked Scott Justice and Chad Gable to both work 2 matches in one WrestleMania. I thought that was fantastic.
I love it.
Anyway, I listened to that and it got me thinking, well, like this and Spencer, your article, which logistically, whether or not it would work out or not to do open door policy, it's a fun idea. And
100%.
So I wanted to pilfer Kaya's idea, and we are today here to book a AlbertaMania card, which is what I'm dubbing it.
I love it.
And it basically involves if you could have a super card of any matches featuring superstars or wrestlers from Alberta, what would those matches be? So I've got the boys here, and we have fantasy booked our own cards, and we're going to kind of compare and try and build up the ultimate card for Alberta.
Absolutely. Now, we made a couple of rules. I love to preface this. Like, I was talking a little bit with Strife about this. Like, rules are some of our favorite things about wrestling.
You talked to Strife about this podcast tonight.
Not tonight. I talked to him a little bit.
About rules in general.
About rules in general, because he asked if I was at one of the shows and I was yelling at people about the tag rope. And like, man, there's nothing I hate more than people who don't hold the tag rope in a tag team match. You know this.
That was my favorite thing about that entire night.
Yeah, like hold the tag rope if you're in a tag team match. Otherwise, you have not legally tagged in. But that's not here nor there. We made a couple of rules. So number 1, we kept it to under 12 matches. I don't even believe anybody hit 12 match mark.
I hit 11. I just hit 11.
Yeah, I think I'm at 10 or 11 as well.
I have 9, but I may add 1 or 2 as well.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure there's going to be times where it's like, oh yeah. But the other major rule that we had, man, now I'm completely
no championship match.
No championship matches. That was also a rule, but that wasn't the one I was thinking of. Shoot, now I completely forget. Look at I remember.
Only one
yeah,
in.
You're only allowed to bring in 1 like Alberta alumni, so we are not able to.
I do have to preface this. Can I, being that CWE does come here, can I use CWE people?
Oh yeah, Brutus will show up for it, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely.
Brutus backed out of the AlbertaMania at the last minute for the last 2 shows of it. Sorry, guys.
3 shows. Actually, I think he dropped.
Excuse me, he dropped out of the last 3
No, he dropped
AlbertaMania
out
shows.
6. Missed. There was nobody for headlining the 3, and then Jimmy Jacobs came in for the last 3.
Jimmy Jacobs is the man. I thought that before he did that, and I think that even more so now. But,
yeah.
So those are our major rules. We can't be booking anybody like let's get realistic. We're not going to be able to book Seth Rollins to come here. Somebody, let's say someone like a Giselle Shaw or Rachel Ellerin,
or want alumni.
Yeah, an Alberta alumni. That's 100% perfect. The other ones I will say, like just because I know PWA Hall of Famers, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe's, if they're currently under contract to WWE, nay. I think Impact's fair game.
Sure.
Impact's fair game. They've got enough non-exclusivity that they allow people to come here. So we'll include them. But Shaw, this is your podcast. This is your thing. You unveil the first match, or choose who is unveiling the first match on AlbertaMania.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I guess we'll go match to match. The first match I have on my card is a showdown between cruiserweights. It's RCW versus PPW, and it is going to be Son of Irish versus Jumpin' Josh.
Ooh. I quite like that. Jumpin' Josh is someone I've unfortunately never gotten to watch wrestle live. Unfortunately, he's not on my card simply for that reason. But I feel like I actually made this comparison to KJ a couple days ago. It's like, I feel like he's going to have a year this year like Pride had last year. Is like, as soon as I met Cage and I started hearing about Pride, like, man, he started just tearing up Alberta. I feel like Jumpin' Josh this year as someone like, I'm not claiming to be like any sort of prophet or anything, but like, I feel like because now I'm just hearing of him once I get to watch him wrestle, you guys can have a big year, big 2019.
I wouldn't doubt it. I have seen Jumpin' Josh. He wrestled at an RCW show in Calgary. He was in a tag team match. But like the thing that stood out to me about him and Son of Irish is they're both so young and so talented.
Yeah.
That if we put them in the ring together, I imagine they're both going to be absolutely fearless.
Oh, 100%.
And they are going to want to kick this shit off with them.
Yeah, I agree. Andre?
I guess I'm going next because it was staring at me.
If you want to.
Oh, definitely. You know I like to talk. So,
that's why these podcasts always run long.
I'm going to kick my card off with it's actually a CWE versus MPW match.
Okay.
And you have AJ Sanchez and his tag team partner, and they are the current tag team champions, Kevin O'Doyle, taking on King B and T.Y. Jackson.
Okay.
Essentially, battle of the tag team champions. And I've only seen
it's
Kevin
a Survivor Series match.
Yeah,
just the CWE tag champs. Sorry.
AJ Sanchez and Kevin O'Doyle. I'm pretty sure you've seen AJ before.
Oh yeah, I know AJ Sanchez.
I've only ever seen Kevin once, but AJ's phenomenal, and I know I've watched T.Y. Jackson and King B just kill it in the ring. I would love to see this match. I think you have you get the big guys in O'Doyle and Sanchez who can fly it in his own right, and then you have they making great basis for a lot of high flying moves coming from T.Y. Jackson and King B. So that's probably where I'd start on mine.
All right. Well, I guess that leaves it to me. Guys, what kind of Mania doesn't feature a ladder match?
Mine's later in the card.
No, I feel like you kick things off with some destruction. So, yes, it's a complete cop-out, but I chose a ladder match to kick this off. But, I love ladder matches. I tried to think this one out as much as humanly possible. I feel like we got a good mix of talent in here, so... Kyle, we've got the aforementioned Son of Irish, 8-man tag, not 8-man tag, 8-man ladder match.
Okay.
The aforementioned Son of Irish, Kid Cyrus. We've got Dean Richter in there for a little bit of
space,
a little bit of badassery.
Like
he's someone who can be in there and play for lack of a better, EC3 douchebag role. He can come in this sort of match. I think he's really good at it. I love it.
He'll be DR1.
Have you guys heard that Dean Richter's a bum?
Yeah, I've heard that all the time, but I disagree.
Very much
I love the guy in a heel role, so he's in there. After watching him in the RCW ladder match, I had to throw Sweet Daddy Soul in there because I was super, super impressed with his performance. I had him in a singles match earlier when I first started doing this. Andre, you and I, Arcade.
Yeah.
Official sponsor of Over the Top Rope. When we were talking about it, I had him in a singles match. I moved into the ladder match because, I was so impressed with his performance in that. Obviously got the guaranteed title shot for RCW now.
What a guy who's been putting in a lot of work.
And some of the best theme music out there. Anybody who will pick the payolas, love it. Nicely done.
Whenever he dances with me, I feel special.
It's beautiful.
He hugs me every time I see him.
I've got Dylan Stone in there. I think he adds a lot of power and energy to a match.
Excellent.
I've got Jeff Tyler in there, Skyflyer Jeff Tyler, because there's a ladder. He's nuts. Love watching Jeff Tyler wrestle. That Spanish fly off the top rope with MRB on a broken ankle was one of my single most impressive moments in Alberta wrestling last year.
All respect to Jeff Tyler, but hashtag I hate Jeff Tyler.
That's fine. I love Jeff Tyler.
I don't think I've ever seen Jeff Tyler work.
He's great. I really enjoy watching him work.
Right on.
Really do.
He's got great in-ring ability. I just don't like the character of Jeff Tyler.
Fair enough.
James.
I've got Mark in there. Michael Allen Richard Clark, the longest name in wrestling. Recent recipient of an opportunity to appear on a House of Hardcore show, which is very, very exciting.
Shout out to him. Also, shout out to former Monday Night Shaw guest, Roy Flash Gordon.
Roy Flash Gordon, Danny Duggan, Sean Moore, and who was the fifth? I know there's a fifth, and now I always
Tyler
feel
Colton.
I believe so.
Yeah, Tyler Colton.
Yeah.
Canadian Hercules Tyler Colton.
There we go. Thank you. I always feel so rude when I can name 4 out of 5 people, you know what I mean? Leaving one person out. Either way. Jeff Tyler, Michael Allen, Richard Clark, and obviously, because you've got to have just one big son of a bitch in there, I've got Gunnar the Pagan Destroyer.
In a ladder match.
Oh, boy.
That guy is going to throw some destruction
Watch him fall
all
off
the
ladder.
way around the ring.
No, he's gonna climb a step and trip and fall.
No. So there's mine. There's my opener. I've got the ladder match. Just love to see it.
Ladder match opener. That's fantastic.
Ladder match openers always have to happen. Now, who's going next?
I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna take my next one.
Cool.
And I have a few actual singles matches on here, so I don't go crazy with it.
Okay, you gotta pick. You gotta one at a time. It's like opening a Christmas present.
But
you go around the family.
But my first singles match of the night is current CWC Alberta champion and RCW Junior Heavyweight champion Pride taking on the current PWA Mayhem champion Kenneth Anthony.
Okay.
Now these two, I've only been watching Pride for roughly the last 6 months, but I've watched Kenneth Anthony from when he debuted in a mask as Fury just evolve into...
I remember when he turned on Rage. It was one of the most dastardly things I've ever seen in my life.
But I've watched him evolve into this really great technician, but can also do a lot of high-flying, impressive spots. And to watch these two in the ring, I think would be a phenomenal singles contest. And that's easily would be a match I'd want to book on AlbertaMania.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to take this one just because you brought up Pride. I've got Pride in a match as well. I've also got Pride in a singles match. I don't have him against Kenneth Anthony. I was really, really surprised. None of us pre-talked about this.
You boys, I'm not sure if we've covered this. Who goes over in your matches?
I don't know if I want to discuss that one.
We'll let the fans decide.
We'll let the fan decide. We'll send this out with a couple of polls.
In mine, I'm putting over Sunfire in the first match.
All right. All right, so I've got Pride taking on current PWA Commonwealth champion Sean Moore in a singles match because Sean Moore is a guy that, again, I always use the phrase criminally underrated. There's so many great wrestlers in Alberta that I just don't think get the recognition they deserve. Obviously, Sean Moore's a guy who's not only wrestling in Alberta, he's wrestling in Saskatchewan as well. If I remember correctly, he's the HIW Wildside champion?
Yes.
There we go. Thank you very much.
And come, I think it's April, he will be taking on Michael Richard Blaze, defending that championship at Spring Meltdown.
I'll be honest, man. I'm not sure. I need to pay a little more attention to HIW. They're doing great work out there.
I heard they have phenomenal production value.
Yeah, I've heard the same. But either way, HIW, I would love to come out to a show one of these days. I am a Saskatchewan boy myself. Born and raised in bigger Saskatchewan. New York is big, but this is bigger.
HIW, if you're going to friends, Spencer out there to the show. Just realized that Kyle Shaw is willing to jump in. And
Yeah, Shaw, you can hop in. You can always hop in.
I will literally jump in the trunk to make this trip.
We say in the AlbertaMania podcast, we're going out to the Saskatchewan promotion.
Let's get fucked.
But either way, so Sean Moore, to get back to him, I just think that he's a guy who is a phenomenal talent. I think he's destined for big things, whether that's moving on to a Japanese promotion or moving on to, say, an Impact or Ring of Honor. WWE, I wouldn't be surprised if he was to be a guy that they would sign and just have him develop in NXT for a bit, because he's a guy who's super talented. And I would love to see him more. I think that putting him up against a guy like Pride, especially after the year Pride had last year, I think that this elevates both of them by association. I think that they're both stars in their own right. I think that this is another marquee matchup that you could see on any card in Alberta. People would be excited.
I think that sounds like fun.
You're up next, Al.
All right. Well, my next matchup, the second match on my card that I have so far written down, is a hardcore fans bring the weapons match, and we're looking at Vince Austin versus Jude Dawkins. So that's Jude Dawkins is the Ripper champion right now.
Yep.
Versus Johnny Kickass versus Kenneth Anthony, who is like the Mayhem champion. So like this is just going to be an out of control brawl. Absolutely insanity, and of course, I'm sorry, but my boy Vince Austin is going over this because I 100% believe he can kick the shit out of all three of those guys.
Here's another one where, like, I am shocked by how alike we think, because I also have a hardcore match. It also features Vince Austin. It also features Jude Dawkins. However, my other two in my also fatal four-way here, I've got Dano Burns and I've got Colton Kelly. Because I know that every one of those men is willing to literally get stabbed to put a match over. And I mean that in the best possible way. All four of them are absolutely nuts in the best possible way. I think that they will do anything it takes to get a hardcore match over. One of the first interviews actually I did, and like one of my favorite interviews I've ever done was actually with Colton Kelly. And like, just to give you a flavor, like his dream opponent is New Jack. And I think that any of the other three men in that match who was to hear that, they would say, okay, let's give him a New Jack match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think you could say that about any one of those guys.
It's no secret that Vince Austin was legitimately pitching a death match. He wants to work a death match in RCW.
Yeah, that's from that same interview. It's one of Colton Kelly's bucket list items, is work a death match.
Just so you know, I also have a hardcore match.
I matched up with your guys' second match on the card. Or
Third.
That's
We're on third.
That's
So
my
you got
third.
one next.
I'm on my second.
You and me match up on 3. So I have Vince Austin, because Middle Asian crazy, biggest, most psychopathic person we know, taking on Colton Kelly,
Who's also the man.
taking on Daniel Burns, taking on Knight, CWE, former RCW, MPW, everything.
Okay.
Versus Knight, because
Knight was the man that was legitimately the most like, yeah, I'm up for doing a death match, Vince.
yeah, the dude legit I've watched him do some crazy shit in the ring, and I believe like the four of those guys would it would get bloody, everybody would get hurt. Simple as that. I would love that. I would put this later in my show, like farther down the card, like later into the night, close like. But yeah, that'd be amazing match to me.
And I'm
like,
not even like a fan of hardcore matches, but like I think if you're gonna do a hardcore match, make it a hardcore match.
Yeah,
And those four guys would do it.
definitely.
In any of our combinations. I think
Yeah.
you guys are completely correct as well. Like, hell, I would be comfortable. My biggest thing for this is I wanted to make a realistic card. I could not have too many, like, fatal 8-ways.
Yeah, no, I hear ya.
The highest I go outside my ladder match is 4 people in a match.
Absolutely. Shaw, as you mentioned, it is your match. This is your now third match on the card.
Okay, my third match is a old school tag team battle royal. So it's going to include 3 teams from PWA, 3 from Monster Pro, and 3 from RCW.
Okay.
Basically, the rules are it's a battle royal style thing. If your partner's eliminated, you and your back.
Yeah, makes sense.
The teams I have in for representing PWA are the team of Aiden Adams and Kenny Stryker, the above average Joes. Bobby Sharp and Michael Allen, Richard Clark.
Body break.
Mark.
And then Davey O'Doyle and Braden Parsons, who I believe are the lead.
Creepy.
They will be contending against MPW teams King B and T.Y. Jackson, Nate Nixon and Cato, and then the team of
Nasty Nate Nixon.
Nasty Nate Nixon.
Just some disgusting nipples.
Yeah, gross. And then James Crowder and Rick Jules are the third MPW team. And then representing RCW is going to be the team of Matt Hart and D. White Davis, Hard to Kill, against Daniel Burns and Epic Hitting Rude, Swipe Right. Also against Dirty Inc., which would be the team of Real Estate Nate and Tony Chimera.
All right.
Represented with Dirty Mike, of course.
Of course. Managers are always assumed, I think.
Yeah.
But you know what? They also do deserve... Just as a side note, managers are completely underutilized, not only in Alberta, but in wrestling as a whole. And I think that every manager in Alberta, whether it be like a new Kylie Morgan, whether it be Thaddeus Archer III, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Thaddeus Archer III.
How is he a myth? He exists. He can't be a myth.
Hey, you know what, man? Like, it's a turn of phrase.
I know.
Back off.
I would be putting over to,
Dirty
I think, Bobby Sharp and Michael Allen, Richard Clark would be winning that match.
I think they're fantastic. And I think also you've got to include Kat Von Hees in there because she could realistically, she did wrestle at PWA's last show in place of Bobby Sharp. So whether they are moving forward with it being Michael Allen, Richard Clark, and Kat Von Hees as Body Break, I think that they're interchangeable in the best possible ways. Because if you're to replace...
also already booked on my card.
Oh, fair enough. Either way, then fine. Just wanted to give her a quick shout out. Because I have no other way to recover from that.
Go to your fourth.
Fourth match on the card. Excuse me. You know what? I'll get my major tag team match out of the way. It's a triple threat match. Tried to grab one from each promotion as well. Excuse me. I have the above average Joes versus Mitch Clark and Lumberjack Larry versus Top Talent.
Fantastic.
I think it would be absolutely fantastic, to be honest with you, Shaw. I think that they all bring something very different to the match. You talk about Mitch Clark and Lumberjack Larry. I think Lumberjack Larry obviously got over because he's an incredibly entertaining guy, but the guy is severely underrated in the ring. I think him and Mitch Clark together are absolutely fantastic. Mitch Clark has got to be one of the fastest rising stars in Alberta as far as tag team wrestling and professional wrestling overall goes. I think that obviously coming from a UFC background, the guy adds a bit of legitimacy to the match, and like he's legitimately dangerous. I can tell you that.
I can see Mitch Clark and Heavy Metal having great chemistry.
I completely agree, and that's what I was going to say as well. Is I think that Top Talent, you talk about Big Jess Youngblood, you talk about Heavy Metal, like what those two do as heels. I think I put them over in the Backbreaker Media Awards. I'll put them over again right now. I think that they're genuinely underappreciated because I think the work that those guys put in is just fantastic. I think that they're both fantastic, not only in-ring workers, I think they're fantastic in-ring personas. I think that the way that they both think wrestling is similar to the way that I would. You know what I mean? They think wrestling in a very logical way, and I appreciate that thoroughly. And obviously, they're just badass. I think Metal's got some of the best music in independent wrestling, to be honest.
First time I ever heard Metal's music, I listened to it, and I immediately want that music.
Dude, I pop.
That's great music.
I pop every time. It's great. I got Top Talent, and then obviously the above average Joes. I think it goes without saying that they're one of the standard bearers of tag team wrestling in Alberta right now. I think that Aiden Adams and Kenny Stryker are both guys who, both of them are incredibly good singles wrestlers, but this is just a case of two elements coming together and sort of creating a third element. You know what I mean? It's the way that, not to oversell, because Zeppelin's my favorite band, but Jimmy Page always described it When those four guys came together, they created some sort of like fifth element, which was like sort of the magic duo. And I think that the Above Average Joes, great individual wrestlers, but I think that them in a tag team together, like they're going to go incredibly far together if they choose to. And if they choose not to, if they choose to break off into singles careers, which I don't want to say the wrong decision, it's just not the one I would prefer because the Above Average, they're so entertaining. But if they were to break off into singles careers, like I think they'd arguably do just as well. You know, I think they're both very, very good. Again, number one, they get it done in the ring, and number two, they seem like great guys, and those are my favorite kinds of wrestlers.
So to play off with your triple threat, I have a triple threat tag myself, and you got the Above Average Joes.
Yep.
Phenomenal, one of the best face teams I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Then I had Top Talent in the match.
Yep.
One of the best bad guy teams I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Against the current CWC Tag Team Champions, Shawn Martins and Dean Richter, the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
I put them up as I've only gotten to see them through video.
Yeah.
But man, those two, like their ability to work together is so good. I really love those two together. So yeah, and again, everything you pushed, like Top Talent, them being ring generals on top of it all, guys that have been in the business for a long time, and be able to run a book or like call a really amazing match with these teams of majorly good workers.
Yep, I 100% agree.
Okay, who's next?
You.
I'm next.
You got your number 4 match, bud.
My number 4 match?
We just went through ours.
What was your number 4 match, Andre?
Triple threat tag, Top Talent, Above Average Joes, and Wrecking Crew.
Okay, cool. All right, well, my next match is a triple threat battle of the big men.
Oh,
it is
yes.
Junar, the Pagan Destroyer, taking on PWA's Titan, taking on MPW's Wrath. And I will tell you, Junar is one of my training buddies, and he takes every opportunity he can to shit talk Titan. Don't get me wrong, respects Titan, but full on, I think that if there was ever a beef to be had, it would be between Junar and Titan. And throwing Wrath in there as just like that third power guy, that's gonna be like some, where's the beef, brother? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta jump in with my fifth because he literally just listed 2 men I put in a big man match, and that is Gunnar the Pagan Destroyer, because the dude can defeat anybody except the top rope. And
it's never not going to be funny.
It took me
it may just be like a little like, but I'll always pop for a best entrance ever reference.
Wrath, who I've watched before he became Wrath, was always a hell of an in-ring competitor. It's becoming Wrath has become a total beast. And then I put in there with them is Slammer. Is Slammer, right. Big old, like he's not quite Gunnar big, but like Wrath isn't a very tall boy either. But and I think Slammer, it would test him being the man. Like he's always been the man, right?
Yeah.
Test that ability of him going up against huge dudes. I think these 3 men just smashing together for 10 minutes, I guess. I think it'd be so entertaining. And Slammer, because you know he's gonna go do Slammer slam do. That's for you, Brian Hamilton.
I until you mentioned the Slammer, I had a completely different like Haas fight from you guys, but mine also features Bryce the Slammer Sova, who actually, I don't know if you guys have listened yet because it only came out a couple hours ago as of the point we're recording this, but like his appearance on Two Big Tams may be my favorite podcast ever. I say that with no irony whatsoever.
I've heard it, but I really want to.
You know what? And that's nothing against any of you guys, and that's nothing even against me. I just think it was fantastic. So listen to it.
I legit just haven't updated my podcast app yet.
You know, that's fine. It was fantastic. Slammer. The next opponent I have in this big man match, I've got the Irishman, current general manager of RCW. I think that the guy was an excellent wrestler. I unfortunately only got to see him wrestle live once. It was terrific, and outside of that, what I've watched is fantastic. My only full-time, and I say full-time in air quotes here because it's the last time I watched him wrestle, only full-time CWE wrestler in here, Andy Anderson. I think that...
Hey, Andy Anderson's he's only wrestled for CWE once.
Yeah, I don't care. Then fine. That was the last time I saw him. That's why I literally went out of my way
that's
to find
fine.
out.
I get
Either
that
way.
100%.
I think that Slammer, Irishman, Andy Anderson, you have some huge dudes in that match, and huge, scary dudes. Like
Experienced vets too.
Experienced vets, I compare it to like Braun Strowman, where like obviously Braun Strowman's Braun Strowman, but these are dudes who like, even if you were to see them in a dark alley, you would never think, okay, I've got a chance if I just start running. Like, they're quick enough to chase you down. You know, I think that's what makes the three of these guys so frightening in the best possible way, is like, I think that all of these guys are horrifying in the sense that not only are they huge, but they're quick. And I think that adds a lot to a match rather than just being, what's the best way? I guess like the first incarnation of Lars Sullivan. You know what I mean? I think that you need to have an element of speed in a big man match. And I don't think you just get it from one guy here. I think you get it from all three.
Yeah. We can all compare what we think a big man match would be, right?
Yeah.
And, like, I just think because Gunnar is such a beast, I have to see somebody knock him down.
Well, and I liked having him in a ladder match because I think
I
it gives
get that
a lot of
100%.
opportunity, not just to be a big man, but to just destroy stuff.
Like,
Just
lift it. You can.
absolutely
I
destroy
truly
stuff.
believe if that ladder match, if Gunnar was, or if somebody was on the ladder, Gunnar could lift that ladder and like dump them out like while holding the ladder in the air.
With
Yeah.
With the match I've got here, like I think it always sounds like you're underselling people when you don't bring them up, but with these three guys specifically, I think that you talk about ring generals as far as top talent go. These guys are three guys who have been in the business not just for a long while, but a long while. I think that any of these guys could go out and run a match with anybody and have it come out and be acceptable. And I think that acceptable is not the right word. They can pull a good match out of anybody in the best possible way. That's the way I meant to phrase that. I think that if you were to throw the three of them in the ring together, there's something to be said about three veterans just getting the chance to go to town. Because even in the last little bit, when I've been coming to PWA, just to bring up obviously the Slammer, working with the Titan is great in the sense that you get to watch huge hoss fights. But Titan's been wrestling in PWA for a year. He was at the Resolution. He was at the Resolution Rumble last year, and if I remember correctly, that's when he debuted.
Something like that.
Right around there, if not. So.
Are we passing it to Kyle for his fifth?
After I finish, yeah.
Oh,
I think
okay.
I think that if you were to give the Slammer, and I think you can apply this to any of the other guys because they were working younger guys or working guys that they had to sort of not carry but be the veteran. I think that you get those three guys in the ring and just say, look, you were three guys who know how to wrestle. Go out and wrestle. You got 15 minutes. I think you get a hell of a match out of the three.
Yeah. The Slammer, Irishman, and
Andy Anderson.
Andy Anderson, yeah.
Former PWA commissioner.
That would be crazy. Okay.
I think it'd be nuts. Shaw, you're up, my friend. You've got match numero 5.
Okay. Match number 5. I should mention that my ring announcer for this show is Andre C.
No, I just want to do it for this match.
And that's just because match 5 is yours truly, Kyle Shaw, versus What About Ivan? The showdown between ring announcers.
All right.
And we're going to put Mike the ref to work as special guest referee.
All right. I like it. I'll take it. I think that is an acceptable match on any card.
It's a comedy, good times.
If anywhere will book it, I'll pay their booking fees. I'm throwing that out to anywhere that will realistically, and like if I have to drive for it, like please like throw my ticket.
Yeah, Brad.
I just appreciate that.
What about Ivan wants to come to Radway or Bonnyville? Like,
yeah, you know what? I think Ivan, we've never met. I apologize for calling you out on behalf of Kyle Shaw here in advance, but I think that Kyle Shaw just said that he would like to take you on. I'm a big fan of matches like that. I would love to see Mike the Ref take Squig on. I'd love to see Massive go up against Squig. I'd love to see like any sort of inter-promotional match like that. I would love to see. Let's get the Bell guys involved. Like, let's just have a staff battle royal.
100% shit show.
Let's just have a staff battle royal. I'd love it.
All right.
I'll even be in. I'm not employed anywhere.
My next
You
one.
guys can throw me over the top rope.
My next one. I'm going to jump.
Is number 6 for you?
I think so.
It is.
Yeah. Is my ladder match.
Okay.
And I don't know what the line makes a title shot to your home promotion. I don't care. But I've got Diablo from MPW, Jude Dawkins from MPW/CWC, because I think we need the muscle guy who can kind of carry around a guy in the match. Xander Price, because I just love the guy and I want to put him on card because the guy is hilariously funny. Hopefully back pretty soon from his eye injury. Versus Kyle Sebastian, because, again, a guy who I like, and I didn't really see a place for him on my card. So I was like, I'm going to put him in the ladder match, but I think he would really shine in there.
Okay.
Versus Gabriel, Sean Moore, and finally, the man you have to put in the ladder match, Mr. Sweet Daddy Soul.
I also should mention, and I feel really, really bad on this, and Gabriel was also in my ladder match.
Oh, there you go. But yeah,
And just to put him over, he is a guy who's grown on me immensely. Because to be honest with you, didn't enjoy the vampire gimmick when I first saw
2 years
it.
ago, up to about 2 years ago, I'll be honest, couldn't stand this guy.
I think that he is a guy, man, especially coming to watch him in Calgary. I think that, I don't know what it is, but he's over in Edmonton. Coming and watching that guy in Calgary, people love him down there.
Oh, very much.
And I think that watching him there was a really big stepping stone for me about a year and a half ago as well. And even we talked about that 3 stages of hell match that he had there a couple months ago when Shane the Hurricane Helms was down there.
Yeah.
Man, what a match that was. Gabriel, big shout out and a genuine apology.
I just gave you my match.
Sweet, you're done?
Yeah.
All
The
right.
ladder match, buddy.
Well,
It's my
here I
ladder
go.
match for a shot at your home championship promotion.
And here I go going through and putting things in bold. To indicate which. I should explain that.
I was using
haven't
X's.
talked about yet. Shaw, you want to take this one? Get your match number 6 in there. Change the order up a bit.
My next match is a women's battle royal.
Okay.
It's 10 women. I've got NV in there. She's representing RCW and I guess CWC as well. Angelica is in there. Kai March, Kat Von Hees, Zoe Sager, Kylie Morgan, Sexy Samantha, Psycho Sawyer, Phoenix, and CWC's Cherry Doll. And in this match, I will be putting Envy. But it's going to come down to Envy and Kat Von Hees. And there's going to be a whooping on
Former
Envy.
rivals.
Before
Little known fact
Kat
for
Von
you
Hees.
independent wrestling
No,
fans.
that was Envy's twin sister.
Oh, excuse me. Right, she's dead.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I think a match between Envy, who is always up for some hard hitting action, versus Kat Von Hees, who is always up for providing hard hitting action, would be pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. My women's match on the card, I do feel bad because I really didn't want to throw 15 battle royals or 15 ladder matches and that sort of stuff on here. And admittedly, I'm not all that familiar with a few of the women's wrestlers. Kaya, I haven't watched. Kylie Morgan, obviously, I've only ever watched her as a manager. I've never watched her wrestle, as none of us have, as of the point of this recording.
Is she making her wrestling debut tomorrow night?
Yeah, making her debut against Envy.
Oh, wow.
Very excited for that one. There's obviously a few on here that I would love to have involved, but we've got a fatal 4-way. I also utilized my one bring someone in card on this one. I've got Angelica, I've got Cherry Doll, I've got Envy, I've got Rachel Ellering. I think that, I don't know, I've got a real soft spot, admittedly, for Rachel Ellering because she was someone who was on one of the first wrestling cards that I went to. I was lucky enough to get to watch her PWA debut. I was always super impressed. And I think that just as someone who was influenced by her, I would love to see her back in a PWA wrestling ring sooner rather than later, or any wrestling ring sooner rather than later. I just assume that.
She's wrestled for RCW.
I didn't know that.
Has wrestled for RCW.
Very cool. I just always sort of assume it's go back to the sort of either way. But that would be my women's match. I think that women's wrestling in Alberta is going to be huge this year. It's one of the predictions I sort of made on the Backbreaker Media year-end honors. I think it's already getting evidence. Like, you're bringing Nicole Matthews into RCW next weekend, which I think is absolutely huge. Man, absolutely. Nicole Matthews is just one of my favorite wrestlers. Regardless of gender, I think she's absolutely fantastic. And I think that you do need to take, not more chances. I don't think it's a chance bringing someone like that in, but I do think that any promotion in Alberta has to be more open to bringing a women's wrestler in as one of the draws. I think that you saw it at PWA at their 17th anniversary show. A lot of people, at least even that I talked to in the crowd, were a lot more familiar with Tennille Dashwood than they were with Christopher Daniels. And Christopher Daniels is a legend, man. I love the guy, but I would completely agree. And
he's an indie legend. In
100%.
reality, he's an indie legend.
And I think that if you were to take more chances on bringing in a Tennille Dashwood or
Anna,
Nicole
right?
Matthews.
Yeah. Just
or I don't know how impact contracts work, but you bring in like a Jordan Grace or God forbid a Tessa Blanchard.
Jordan Grace has been here.
Yeah, CWE.
She.
Seeing again, not
You hadn't started coming to those shows yet.
nope,
Fair enough.
nope. I always
Jonathan
default.
Gresham was on that tour too. So then
Right.
Jonathan Gresham was on that tour too.
Very
he
cool.
was amazing.
And see, now I just sound like an idiot, but I'll always default to you guys.
I lost my cell phone at the CWE show in Red Deer, and it was found by one of the workers, and I had like a surprise selfie from the whole roster on my phone when I found it. Yeah, it was
That's
crazy.
outstanding. Either way, that would be my women's match for the card. Here's also my, we call it the electrical corner because it's my cheap plug. Bring in more women's wrestlers. Support your women's wrestling. It's fantastic. It's better than ever. And much like the rest of Alberta, the people just give a shit. I have no other way to put it. And support the people who support your local sports, your local athletes, and I can very firmly say that everybody in Alberta wrestling is so damn supportive of each other. To be damn supportive of them.
Well, I guess I'll go into my next match based off that.
Take it on to a serious note.
It's my women's match.
Okay.
And I went a little more simple. It's straight up one-on-one match between my women's wrestler of the year, Envy, from the Backbreaker Media Honors. I give her wrestler of the year. And she's taking on, as you mentioned, a woman we want back in this province again. We want to see her again. It's Rachel Ellering. I think these two would have a phenomenal one-on-one match. I got to see Rachel in her debut. I got to watch her evolve. Became friends with her through her association with Backbreaker Media. There wasn't one that plans to add her to the Backbreaker Media Firmware Mafia shirt at one point. But yeah, I would
Those
love
plans fell through.
Yeah, we never made those shirts. But I'm a huge fan of both these ladies, and I would love to see that match.
I don't disagree with you, man.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see that. I think Envy is the top female worker in Alberta right now, in my opinion.
I think she's one of them, man. And like this
Angelica is a close second.
I was gonna say it's not to undersell.
Anyone.
It's not to undersell Envy because I agree she's easily. I think there's a lot of women you could say are some of the most talented women in the world. I think that in Alberta we're very, very lucky that even despite the fact that and just due to circumstance of having limited female workers in the province in the past, I think that we have been really, really lucky in who we've had come through here, whether it be a Rachel Ellering or a Giselle Shaw or a Peyton Royce who used to wrestle here or a Taya Valkyrie or an Emma. Like, we've had a ton of talent pass through this province, and I think the unfortunate thing / the fortunate thing is
Natty Neidhart too.
Natalia Neidhart. Like you, not even you. I almost don't even mention one of the biggest names in wrestling to come out of Alberta. But I think that this is the first time that we've truly been blessed in the province with having a number of talented females at once.
Yeah.
Like, you even talk about Kat Von Hees, like, what she does in the PWA is insane. She is one of the, like, I say stiff worker in the most positive way because I love watching matches that I feel are real. I think the coolest wrestling matches, not as extreme as Jim Cornette, obviously, but are the ones that feel like a sporting event. And I think that she is very, very good at making wrestling matches feel like a sporting event.
And it's just the fact that she manhandles guys like Aiden Adams and Kenny Stryker like she did in that match back in November. Yeah, she's impressive.
Right? Then you look at Envy, and you look at Angelica, and you look at a Cherry Doll, and the number of women we've got here. Like, even Kylie Morgan, who's someone who obviously has wrestled some training matches and that I wouldn't be privy to, but I've heard nothing but good things about her. I've heard nothing but good things and watched nothing but great things out of Zoe Sager. I think that this is the first time we've truly been lucky enough to have this much female talent at one time.
It's pretty incredible.
Right? I think it's such a testament to them. People talk about the women's revolution, and even to me, it's an overused phrase because WWE's turned it into a marketing tool rather than what it actually is. Yeah. But I think the same can be applied to Alberta. I think that I don't know if you'll see an all-female event, but I certainly know if you did, I would have no doubt about the talent on that card. Or if you were to have women's matches consistently main event, which, again, don't go to every event, and I feel really rude if I have missed it, but if there have been main events, you know. I think that the amount of women's talent in this province is insane, and the fact that I would be excited to have you've got a battle royal, I would be so excited to watch that battle royal, which I don't think can even be said about a lot of battle royals, period. Nonetheless, an independent, you know.
I think it would be time.
100% agree. And Shaw, with that, you take the reins again. You take your next match. This is number 7.
No, this is 8.
This is your 8.
No, wait. Yeah, I just did my 8.
Okay, well, this
or
is
no,
not
7.
my
You're right, 7. I'm wrong.
This is my third from the top.
All right.
Say it that way. And it is, of course, the Saltwater Savage, Andrew Hawks, taking on Bryce the Sandwich Slow. And anybody that's been at our shows recently knows there's some beef going on. And I want to see it settled.
So this is a match I saw years and years and years ago. Like back 2010, 2011 area, when these guys went to war. And then you compare it, that's them then, and then I'd love to see them go at with who they are now. Man, it'd just be so much even better.
I love it. I've got Andrew Hawks in a different match, however.
Were you guys there in Calgary when Slammer was in the crowd and Hawks jumped out of the ring and fucking attacked him?
No.
You showed me a video.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Outstanding.
Hawks was basically like said some very rude things about Kurt's Rocket. Jumped outside the ring and somebody got backhanded. I can't remember if Slammer backhanded Hawks or it was the other way around, but it was pretty nasty, and it kind of resulted in some apparently PWA guys aren't supposed to be at our shows anymore.
I did not know that. Therefore, I cannot comment on that other than just give a
No idea. I tried to talk to Hawks about it, but he's he doesn't want to talk about it, and it's a legit thing.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I've also got Andrew Hawks in a singles match. A bit of an interesting opponent, but I think I would really love to see, just because I think they don't have similar styles, but they're similar enough they would work really well together. I would want to see Andrew Hawks take on Bobby Sharp.
Okay.
Yeah, even just for the fact that, I think that the two of them, you would never say that they're similar wrestlers, but I think that they would work they would complement each other so well.
Well, opposing styles complement each other in wrestling. Unlike you go to fighting and stuff, but
You're
when
going
you
to
have
sound
two
silly
different...
here, but I wouldn't even say they've got contrasting styles. Or
Well,
opposing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're the same animal, but a different beast.
I put Hawks as more of a
brawling flyer versus Bobby Sharp as more of a technical ground kind of guy. Like
Andre, you're so
wrestling
hip.
out. It's what I get for most of these guys. Yeah, I am hip. I wear suspenders, then I watch Japanese wrestling. I understand.
Honestly, that's going to be, I'm going to get a shirt that says, Andre, you're so hip.
I wanted
so hip, Andre.
I wanted to
But
see that
either
so bad.
Yeah, Bobby Sharp versus Andrew Hawks. I just think it would be a very, very entertaining match. I think the two would put on... I don't know how you would put it. I don't know if I'd say a technical classic. I don't know how it would be described, you know? It is a match that I picture being very, very good, and I think that's all I can leave it at without starting to ramble.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so
Your turn, Andre.
my third from the top, it will be Andrew Hawks is in my third from the top. He's taking on MPW's Mitch Clark.
All right.
I want to see this because, honestly, I truly believe Andrew Hawks is going to start hitting full steam. There's going to be it's going to be the stiffest match you'll ever see in your life because a guy like Mitch Clark can take those hits. It's simply, you know what I mean? Like, he can take those hits, and I would love to see the striking exchange between these guys. And Mitch Clark is...
Trust me, Hawks is be happy to deal it out.
Yeah, and I think the tactic, you have Mitch Clark who learned true legit Olympic style wrestling. His mad ability is great.
He's still freestyle wrestling.
And his mad ability is amazing. And I would love to see these two work in a ring. I think it would be so entertaining.
All right.
So, and just to hear Andrew Hawks cut a promo to add a UFC guy, just a former UFC guy, I would love to see that.
Fair enough, man. You want me to take it?
Yeah, you're next.
All right, well. Who do I want to talk about here? Because there's no real actual transition I can make. So I'm just going to go with, this is also my third from the top. Another pair that I don't know, both guys that should be on everyone's cards, not two guys I think that a lot of people would match up against each other. I'm a big believer in a heel babyface dynamic, if anyone knows me. I think that you've got to play into some of the sort of traditional tropes of wrestling. You need someone to boo, you need someone to cheer, and I think that these two guys would complement each other very, very well in this sense. I've got Mo Jabari, Kid Chocolate Mo Jabari, taking on Sean Martins in a singles match.
Wow.
Yeah. I think Mo Jabari is a guy that I talked a lot about as being one of the most improved wrestlers of 2018. I mentioned it when we did our year-end wrap-up with Cage. And I think that he's another guy who's going to continue to develop. And I think that Sean Martins, despite the fact that he's the MPW heavyweight champion, and rightfully so, is still a guy that I think could be on a lot of most improved lists, next year. Just because I think that he's a guy who has come so far and still has such a long way to go in the most positive possible ways, you know? I think that he's a guy that maybe in a few years, when you're talking about the scene, you talk about at the start of this podcast, booking WrestleMania 10 years from now, Sean Martins is a guy that if he chooses to stay in Alberta for the next little bit, he's a guy I could see being right near the top of that card, you know, for AlbertaMania. When you get the guys and sort of veterans right now who do end up leaving, retiring, or moving on. But I think at the top of it all, both of them are fantastic. I hesitate to say character workers because I don't think either of them really play a character. But I think that Sean Martins is an excellent heel, both the way he works in ring. You talk about promos with Andrew Hawks. I would love to see him cutting promos on just Mo Jabari, who's such a pure babyface in the best possible way. I think that he is a guy who is just someone. I compare him to Sami Zayn in the sense that, like,
so you're saying Hawks versus Mo Jabari?
No, I'm saying
He's comparing. He's just like, I think you meant like he. I want to hear Hawks cut promos on Mitch Clark. He wants to hear Martins cut promos on Jabari.
I was just going to say, no offense to Mo Jabari. Hawks
You're completely
murder him.
No, I think that Mo Jabari plays such a good pure babyface, and he plays it in the way that I was going on to compare him to Sami Zayn, is you'd never say, prior to his heel turn, you'd never say that Sami Zayn played a character. He was just someone who was pure-hearted and wrestling for the right reasons and all that raw stuff you always hear. It's the same way I feel about Mo Jabari. Is you don't think that he's going out and playing a character, but he's someone the crowd gets behind 100% every time he wrestles. There's never been a time I've watched him wrestle that he hasn't been the guy people get behind him. What was the show in May for PWA where he headlined against MRD? I can't remember. Either way.
I can't remember that show, but I know what happened, but it's been a while.
And MRB is a guy who I would say the same thing about, and people get behind Mo Jabari over a guy who a lot of people would say is the most over, quote-unquote, guy in PWA. Right? I think that this would just play a great dynamic. They're both great in the ring. I enjoy watching them both in the ring. And it gives a great match for a crowd to get invested in. And if we're even just going in the order of the matches, it brings the crowd back into it at the end of a long show.
Right on.
Shaw, you're up, my friend.
So my semi-main event is a championship invitational ladder match. Scheduled to be Sheik Akbar Shabazz versus Christian Strike versus Shawn Martin. But then we get Pride coming out being like, hey, I'm the CWC Alberta champion. I wanted this too. And then we also get Chris Parrish coming out going, I'm the PPW champion. And he's going to end up in this as well. And in fact, I am going to crown Chris Parrish the winner of the championship.
I was going to say, to quote Pride, the champ. The champ of champs.
Does he win all 5 belts?
He does not win all 5 belts. Belts
not
are
a
on the line
5
because that's
promotion
the
champion.
rules.
This is
But
some Austin
he beats the
area
other
shit.
5 guys.
It's a joke, man.
I've also got a championship match. Not a championship match, but a champion versus champion match. I've only got it as a straight-up one-on-one because all of the other guys I've got in other matches. That's a bit of a spoiler for my main event. However, I've got Sheik Akbar Shabazz versus Christian Strife in a one-on-one singles match. Again, I talk about Jabari and Shawn Martins. I think these guys play the heel-face dynamic very, very well. Whichever way they choose to go, because I've never watched Strife work heel, but I'm sure he can. We're just starting to watch Sheik Shabazz work face, and he's fantastic at it. I think that those two would just put on a terrific match.
Sorry to say, I didn't put either Shabazz or Strife on my card, and I'm crazy. I must be crazy for that. So I go to my semi-main event of the evening, and it is a 4-way high flyer match. What's going on?
Nothing.
Sorry. It is a 4-way high flyer match between the aforementioned Mo Jabari taking on man who was in my match of the year, Son of Irish, versus Kid Cyrus from MPW taking on the original, the guy who I think all of us are huge fans of, and that is Marky.
Marky Mark.
I have.
Oh, man.
Mr. CWE, I guess. I have to put it at this point. He's Mr. CWE.
You're not wrong.
And, yeah, I think those 4, because Mo has really developed over these last couple of years. And then you have Son of Irish, who's become one of the top flyers and one of the most exciting wrestlers to come out this past year. And Kid Cyrus, who's no slouch of his own. And I think all these guys just go flying everywhere. And with Marky, will call being the ring general that he is, because he's been doing this for 20 years or so, I think, close to. They will call that match in the ring, and they will kill it.
Yep. Yeah, I have no other real way to put it, man. Shaw, this is your podcast. So before you start here, I think you get the rights on the main event, but I wanted to thank you again for having me on the show. I know I speak for Andre.
Oh, yeah.
Always
I'm so
appreciate
happy to be
it. Because it's been a blast. It's always fun. I've always wanted to appear on this show since its inception, and now I have.
I think Kyle's main event match should be the main event of all of our matches. I think
You know what? We'll let him make the call. Shaw, do you want to go first or
last
last for the main event of main events?
I'll go first.
All right.
I
There you go.
Hopefully you guys can follow. but my main event is a 3 versus 3 versus 3
Definitely
War
not.
Games match.
War Games.
We
love
got multiple promotions. It means we're going to have multiple rings. So my teams are Team RCW, which will be Heavy Metal, Big Jess Youngblood, and Steven Styles.
Garbage.
And then
Just Styles. Just Styles.
they're going to be in the ring against MRB, BVD, and Gabriel for PWA. And then, of course, MPW is going to be represented by Massive Damage, Lumberjack Larry, and Mitch Clark. And I just think that the showdown between Steven Styles and Massive Damage is going to be pretty fucking epic. Mitch Clark is going to have great chemistry, probably with BVD, MRB, Heavy Metal and Big Jess. It's going to be, everybody's going to have great chemistry working all around. And then you've got Massive Damage and Steven Styles, who 100% could probably, ruin a good thing, but at the same time, it might be some pretty exciting stuff to see, because, who knows if they're going to be able to cooperate and work a match without shooting on one another,
Yeah.
Yeah, War Games would be pretty epic, and I'd love to see Steven Styles get bloodied in there. That's the thing. I'd just love to see him get bloodied by everybody else.
Fair enough. Andre, you want to take this one?
My main event of the evening, I'm going up with a straight-up tag match, and it is the tag struggle of Chris Parrish and Maniac taking on one of my favorite tag teams of all time, the Western Lions, Michael Richard Blaze, and Brandon Van Danielson. I've always wanted to see, especially MRB versus Parrish, but I think this main event, these two teams, I think would just go out there, kill it. Could main event any card anywhere, in my opinion. I love these guys. MRB and Parrish, I know, could have a killer match. BVD is one of the best men I've ever, almost underrated, like as you said earlier, most underrated men in Alberta professional wrestling right now. And Maniac is no slouch in himself. The dude has an amazing character, great in ring, and these four together, I think, would put on easily a main event on any card anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that this is the one match. Like I said, Andre, you and I did this a couple of months ago, just as a shoot, and this is the only match that I kept the same. And you and I have the same main event. I think that you're completely right in everything you say. I think that these are four guys, and I mean it in that these are four guys who are some of the best of Alberta wrestling, and all for very different reasons. MRB gets all of his accolades. I honestly sing them as often as I can, but the guy's one of the best independent wrestlers in the world. But I think that the same can be said about the other three guys in the match as well, and I think that this is one of the big reasons that I think that Alberta wrestling is completely unheralded, is that these guys, any of these guys would main event anywhere. I think that you give them enough time, like they've had to develop in Alberta. Obviously, they're talented enough in ring to develop, not to develop, but to main event any card. But I think if you were to have the members at Tag Struggle go off to Nova Scotia, if there's a wrestling promotion out there.
There is.
Right? You give them a month, and they'll be two of the most over guys in the promotion. Not only because they're both great in ring, but because they're both just great professional wrestlers. And you can say the same about BVD. You can say the same about MRB. Anywhere that you're going to put any of these four guys, whether it's as a tag team, which we've got them in right now, but or whether it's as singles wrestlers, which all four of them have proven in the past that they can do. I think that they're just four of the most talented individual wrestlers out there. I think it's very convenient from a booking purpose for us that they happen to be in tag teams, because otherwise, I'll be quite honest with you, I probably would have had some combination of these guys in singles matches otherwise, whether it be BVD and Maniac and MRB Parrish, or MRB Maniac versus Parrish BVD, or however you choose to make it. There would have been some iteration of this match going on, and I think it's just like, man, I love Tag Struggle. I got to be honest with you. I wish they'd worked more than one match together in 2018. The Western Lions.
They are officially a tag team in 2018 because they were
100%,
one match.
100%. But I also think the same can be said about the Western Lions, as I wish that those two were tag team matches more often, just because they are great individual wrestlers, but a great tag team. So I think that putting this,
usually of the belief that a singles match should always be a main event, but I'm going to even break my own rule for this one. And the Western Lions versus Tag Struggle. Main event's AlbertaMania 1.
Right on. So you guys are 2 for 2 on that. That's awesome.
We just know each other so well.
I think it's more or less our fandom for me and him, especially MRB and BVD, I think easily puts them up into a main event for us. And you becoming a fan of Parrish and Manai lately and knowing how good
not even lately, to be honest.
Oh, no, but like
the nice thing is
over the last couple of years, you being a fan.
Yeah.
I've been watching these guys forever. Actually, I met Manai before he ever got into pro wrestling.
Fair enough, man.
I met him at his first Alberta Indie show.
Very cool.
As a fan, and no, it's pretty awesome, and I think all these guys are phenomenal workers. That's why I easily got to put them in a main event.
100%. Well, Kyle.
Well, I want to thank you boys for coming by today to take part in this exercise. I think it was a lot of fun. It was really enjoyable. If any of the promoters want to get together and use our ideas, that's cool with me.
I think we're all cool with it.
Yeah.
I'll take any one of these matches, any card, anywhere.
Especially if I get booked in one way or another.
Hashtag Book Shaw in 2019.
Anyway, yep. So I want to thank Spencer Love from Win Column.
Hashtag we need a goose on the show.
Oh God.
I want to thank Spencer Love from Win Column Sports, and I want to thank Andre C. from Total Nonstop Anarchy.
On the Backbreaker Media Network, part of Win Column Sports.
Ha! We're getting better at that.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I legit don't know what plugs are. So
dude, don't worry. If you listen to my chat with Pride, like same thing. There's probably about 4 or 5 times in it where I say, "Well, we've got to work on shortening this."
I know one of them. There's some cute line about, "Oh, we're Canadian, so we don't need the A."
That's quick calls or anytime.
No, that's
Mike
the
makes,
Backbreaker.
That's when Mike makes his cheap plug for Backbreaker Media because
Twitter.
we're Canadian. We don't need a name.
Yeah,
Is that on Twitter?
It's on Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's where you can find Backbreaker Media, or if you're looking for Win Column Sports at WC Sports CA, or myself specifically at SpennyLove_WCS. I'm just going to head
Are
up
the
the cheap plug
podcasts
section.
available on Spotify?
I believe so. I think Mike's got us on. Because we are making a transition, I'm not 100% full on this one, but
We're on most podcast apps, like I know Podcast Addict and things like that, which can search through the iTunes database.
yep, we're on iTunes, Podbean, Win Column Sports. I know is on
Google Play. I know we're on there.
Play. We're on SoundCloud. We are on Spotify.
Yeah.
What about Stitcher?
I don't know.
What about
What's
what?
a Stitcher?
Stitcher?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm just asking because, like, I listen to all our stuff on Podbean, but that's
You and I both, man.
because
Podcast
that's what it was initially available on.
Podcast Addict.
Yeah, I normally listen to my other podcasts on Stitcher. So.
Monday Night Shaw is available wherever podcasts
Yeah,
are available.
if my podcast is available on the same platform as like Kevin Smith's podcast, that's kind of cool.
We are. We're on the same podcast platform as many celebrities such as Dash Shepard,
Yeah.
Conan O'Brien,
When do you
Chris
think Mark
Jericho.
Maron's going to have me on?
A couple weeks.
Yeah.
A couple weeks. We got a couple weeks there. But anyway, Shaw, thanks again, man. Always appreciate being on the show. I know it's my first time, but I know I appreciate it this time.
Yeah,
so I do always appreciate it.
For sure.
I love being. Thank you for welcoming me back to the show. Just so I want to get my cheap plugs at That Canada Guy on Twitter, at That Canada Dude on Instagram. Please check out Total Nonstop Anarchy with me and my co-host, the Daniel Jobber.
Right on. Spencer, did you get all your plugs in?
Yeah, I think so. If I forgot any, I mean, that's my own fault. Listen to Over the Top Rope and Conversations with Love on the Backbreaker Media, part of the Win Column Sports Network, where you can catch all your previews, reviews, and breaking news from the world of wrestling, and especially from the great province here in Alberta, Canada. Shaw, take it away. Take us home.
I'm Kyle Shaw on Facebook and Monday Night Shaw on Twitter. Reach me whenever you'd like. Thank you for listening to this episode of Monday Night Shaw. We'll see you again when we see it. All right, thank you. Bye.